Almost every single day, I'm hearing about a new organization that's laying off sellers or a portion of their sales team. So I just wanted to make a very quick video to quickly highlight why all of these companies that are laying people off are making a major mistake and sacrificing the long-term health of their company. But more importantly, what can they be doing differently to thrive during the recession and also set themselves up for future growth? So we're going to use this sales organization as our example here. And in an ideal world, this is your organization of happy and successful sellers that are working every single day. And when these sellers are given a revenue target, this is going to add stress to your organization as each person is going to work towards a challenging and difficult task that they're given. And in an ideal world, this group collectively is going to be able to manage their stress effectively with minimal impacts to their mental health, their well-being, and their performance. Now, the problem is this is not an ideal world that we're living in today. And data from the 2022 Mental Health and Sales Report showed that 63% of sellers are struggling with their mental health, but more importantly, 79% of sellers have described their stress levels as feeling stressed or highly stressed. That's insane, 79%. And what's even more important to note is that this data was before the recession really sunk its teeth into our economy. So what this means is now we have this massive external stressor in place, and it's being added to an already very stressed out sales organization that can barely lift the revenue targets that they were given in the first place, which means what you're seeing today are sales organizations being unable to cope with the added stress which is going to be impacting their performance. Because of this added burden, they're unable to adapt fast enough, they're unable to find solutions to the problems that they're facing, and we have extremely fragile sales organizations. And to make matters worse, most executive teams are responding to this added pressure in exactly the wrong way. They're attributing the poor performance from their teams as an issue with their people and looking to save on short-term cash and cutting salaries by laying people off. So they lay off this kind of massive group, let's call it 15% in this example. But in making this decision, they fail to realize the long-term impacts of these decisions. Yes, you no longer have these expensive salaries to pay, but you leave this gaping hole in your sales organization, making your team of sellers that are left over even more fragile, as your stressed out sales force now needs to take on even more stress to cover the workload of those people who were just let go. And this added stress and this workload often becomes too much for most. So many sellers, you're seeing this happen today, are quitting or they're burning out because they can't handle the pressure anymore. So they're leaving, which again is going to create even more gaps in your sales organization as stress increases even further, which is then going to cause top performers to quit because maybe they get fed up because they're given these bigger targets and unrealistic targets to hit, which is impacting the amount of commission and the income that they're bringing home to their families. Or maybe they lose perks that they've earned due to another cost-cutting exercise, or they lose sight of their career path and ways to move forward because of how disorganized the organization feels. Which then leads to situations like this in which we have an executive team or we have a CEO utterly confused as to what's going on. Maybe they're angry or they're blaming their people as to why the sales organization is underperforming. Not to mention setting their organization back decades in which they have to rebuild the health of their organization and rehire all of these top performers that were lost. So what on earth can CEOs, what on earth can VPs of sales do about this? Well, I'm going to say this as nicely as I possibly can, but you have to wake up. You have to realize that people are not the problem and layoff is not the answer. What this means is you have to stop deprioritizing things like mental health and the well-being of your employees or treating it as a checkbox that you're ticking off, and instead realize that your entire sales organization, your entire company is struggling right now, not just sales. There's extreme burnout still from the pandemic. Inflation is making it hard for people to pay their bills. And then you have people adapting to hybrid work or part-time in office and getting used to commuting back to work every single day. All of these things add stress and add pressure to the body. And as a result, they're underperforming, your team is underperforming because of this added stress, and this recession overall is making them more fragile than they usually are. And you need to invest into understanding how are your people actually doing? Not through useless NPS surveys that tell you nothing important, but looking at things like, how stressed do they feel? And are they sleeping right? And are they exercising? What are they putting into their bodies every single day? Are they deeply connected to the vision and the purpose of the company? Are they deeply connected to their peers? And do they have proper boundaries in place? Factors like this play a key role in building a resilient sales organization and a resilient workforce. Now, if you've just laid people off or you've laid people off recently, this becomes even more important to ensure that you have those remaining sellers and remaining people in your organization have the tools to reduce the risk of burning out even further, because without mental health, mental fitness, and stress management being a top priority in your organization, you're never going to be able to get here, in which you have an organization which is healthy, resilient, and really able to adapt to all of the stressors that the world is throwing at them. So if you need help, send me a DM or send me an email. All my programs are really focused on this. I've recently partnered with a data and analytics partner as well to start capturing real data on how your team is doing and customizing practical strategies to help make a difference in this space. So again, send me an email. I hope this was helpful, but please, if you're thinking about laying off people, reconsider, because you're really going to be sacrificing the long-term growth of your company. I'll see you on the next video soon.